everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you so much for coming out today, this morning, to see 26 Pebbles. My name is Mr. Connor Graham. I'm a theater teacher here at Performing Arts. I'm also the director of the play. The play you're about to see runs about an hour and 24 minutes long. There's no intermission, so there's no break in between parts. It's going to run all the way through about an hour and 24 minutes. It moves pretty quickly, though. What else? So please, at this time, what I'd like you to do if you're a student, particularly a performing arts student, but anybody, take anything that's in your lap, in your hands, any books or bags or things, and just put them right under your seat. You don't need them now. You don't need them. Trust me, anything that's in your lap, you don't need it. Don't need it. All right, very good. So, does anybody know today's date? It's the 15th of December. Yesterday was December 14th, okay? You can see up on the board here, this play, 26 Pebbles by Eric Ulloa. The setting, a town hall meeting in New Town, Connecticut. The time, 6 months after December 14th, 2012. On December 14th, 2012, there was a horrible tragedy in this country at a school called Sandy Hooke Elementary School, where there was a shooting, a school shooter. And this person killed 26 people in that school in about 5 minutes, from 9:35 to 9:40. It's a very, very serious topic, and that's what this play is about. This play talks about the Sandy Hooke Elementary School shooting. The play talks about the children and adults who passed away. It talks about mental illness, PTSD. It talks about suicide. So this is a very, very serious play. And I want to say, especially for the performing arts students who are here today, okay, especially for the performing arts students who are here, this is not a play to joke about or to laugh about. It's not a comedy, okay? And if there's any silliness in the audience today, especially from performing arts students, we're going to direct you straight out of the theater and straight to Miss Covington's office, okay? That understood for performing arts students today? Okay. I want you to be a very attentive and supportive audience. This cast and crew have already done 2 amazing shows today. Or I'm sorry, 2 amazing shows yesterday, and they're doing 2 shows today and a show tomorrow. It's a very busy schedule. So I want you all to give very positive, supportive energy to this group. They've worked very, very hard over 10 weeks after school, every day, Monday through Friday, from about 2:40 to 5 o'clock, and then until 6 o'clock the past couple weeks. It's a lot of hard work went into this play. So I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy 26 Pebbles. One last thing I want to say. You will see an actor who is on stage during the play with a script in her hands. It's not because she's unprepared and she didn't spend time learning her lines. It's actually because this week we lost an actor due to illness who's doing okay, but she had to drop out of the play this week, and we had another actor in the cast step up to take on that role. So she's pulling double duty, doing 2 different roles in the play. So a couple times she comes on stage with a script, but I just want you to know that now so you don't think, oh, these people don't know their lines. They actually know their lines so well, they were able to learn other people's lines too. It's pretty impressive, okay? So enjoy the play, and I'll talk to you afterwards. All right.
Welcome to the Buffalo Academy for Visual and Performing Arts and our high school theatrical play, 26 Pebbles, by Eric Ulloa and directed by Connor Graham. Before we begin, there are a few important messages. Please turn off or silence all cell phones, computer tech, and any other electronic devices. Flash photography, video, and digital recordings of the performance are strictly prohibited. Guests, please take a moment to turn off all electronic devices and give your complete attention to the student's performance. Please note that the use of flashing lights and the discussion of gun violence by the actors will occur during the show. In case of an emergency, exits are located through the entrance you came in to the theater, as well as 2 exits on the opposite wall behind the stage. And lastly, be sure to join us again for the high school musical Mean Girls on March 14th, 15th, and 16th in the Main Stage Theater. Now please sit back, relax, and enjoy the performance.
I cannot believe we're on this map. 6 months later, and we're still on this national map. Everyone now knows where Newtown is. Communities like ours don't just form themselves. A true sense of community comes when strangers want to come together and know one another for the greater good of the neighborhood. And we need more of that nowadays, right, Sally?
Right.
See how easy and painless that was? Now you try. Turn to the person next to you, shake out the name tag, and say, hey. And now we have a community.
On the 13th, you didn't know where Newtown was. Or that we had a flagpole, or a creamery, or a parade. Obscure was nice.
To know where we are, you have to know who we are. So let's wipe the slate clean because, let's face it, he's right. Obscurity was nice. They say the world is connected through 6 degrees, but out here in Newtown, it's about 1. And if you were born and raised here, everyone is family.
The friends I have are the friends that I grew up with. I do have a couple of new ones, but most of the friends I hang out with, I grew up with. And people are like, really? Because I don't even talk to the people I grew up with. And it's just, everybody wants to come back here, Yeah.
How many of you have been to Newtown? Put your hands down. Okay, well, Newtown is pretty spread out, but it all comes together at the center of the town, and smack dab in the middle is the flagpole. Now, if you have not seen it, it is this big, huge flagpole with a massive American flag flying high above the town. And right next to it is Edmond Town Hall.
Edmond Town Hall is the only $2 movie theater in the entire state. The town offices used to be there, but they had to move it, and now it's at Fairfield Hills. I guess it was too much bureaucracy for a 1930s building, I guess.
Oh, there's also a secret bathroom in there, 1 flight down, which, if no one's looking, can be very helpful in case of an emergency, but don't tell anyone. So, Main Street runs straight through the town, and all along it we have places like the library, churches, restaurants, businesses like Dina Holcomb's House Bed and Breakfast.
We've been living in Australia, and Darren hadn't seen his family back here in the States in mostly 19 years. Wow. And so, it was time to get back. And so we started researching, and I had all this criteria I had to be. I had to be on the coast. And the East Coast is closer to Ohio than it is on the West Coast, so we'll do the East Coast. I had to be no more than an hour from the coast because Australians live no more than an hour from the coast. We can't cope.
Landlocked doesn't work.
So I said, look, I can't live in Ohio. Sorry, I can't live in Ohio under any circumstances.
And you had no argument for me, did you?
So we decided we wanted to be living distance from New York, but somewhere that was kind of similar to what the kids in us knew, which is kind of a sleepy town. The first house that pops up is in a place called Newtown. Now, Newtown is one of my favorite towns in Australia. So just the name, everything fits the idea of Newtown. So I'm all like, let's research this town. And everything was like, oh, it has great schools, and it has low crime.
Where we was living, there was just 0 crime of any kind. They never even lost a politician to violence. But they did have to lose this one prime minister. How did they lose him again?
He went swimming one day and never came back. They never found him.
So we get there, we drive into town and we see the flagpole. We pull up to Dan's Holcomb house and we have this amazing loft upstairs.
Like a family suite called the Americana Room.
which was, flag bedspreads, flag carpet, flag pillowcases, flag pictures, flag mementos on the bookcase. And, in Australia, well, they're not patriotic per se. They're not flag waving.
No, definitely not flag waving.
So, in her first night in America, she got to come back and sleep in bed and draped herself in the flag while looking out of the window because there's this breeze enough. You can see the flag, snapping full. You're falling asleep to the red, white, and blue.
You wake up the next morning in a jet lag. And you know how sometimes you wake up somewhere new and you don't really remember where you were and where you are? So I wake up and there's just 1,000 American flags in my face and I'm thinking, okay, we're definitely in America.
Now, right off of Main Street is Ram's Pasture, which is this beautiful historic field. Now, if you go, please do make a right at the pasture and you will hit Sugar Street. And then right up the road is the creamery.
Yes. Okay, so the creamery is, well, they railed around the town to save this farm, and it's really close. It's literally on the other side of here, and on the side of the mountain. And it's a working dairy farm, and they make their own ice cream, starting from April 9th till I guess it gets cold. And sometimes you go, and it's packed, and it's this awesome ice cream. Then you smell the manure. And I mean, it's not like a dairy farm, and it's just one of those things where you're like, this is Newtown.
Oh, I'm the town hugger.
That's the only title that's been given to me. I'm actually still in the house I was born in. I brought up in Sandy Hook most of my life. I'm actually 4th generation here in town on my mother's side, so stories I could give you, stories that go back even before my time. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody watched over everybody's kids. I mean, I have so many moms and dads to this day. Let's see, what else? Oh, Pat Lodra is our first selectman. So I guess that's kind of like our mayor, you could say.
Kara runs the town of New Town.
My God, I'll lose my job. No, I don't.
They'll say, gee, what did she do? And I'll tell them, well, she runs the town of New Town.
Yeah, she does. My mom runs it.
No, I don't.
Everything, one way or another, gets passed to Carol, and well, even her boss, but the beauty of it is that she feels comfortable enough to do that.
There are so many memories just right here of playing with the neighborhood kids, of sledding, and the bell! The sound of the bell? Oh, yeah. That was the way my mom got us home.
It's a bronze bell that was cast at a front yard work that they gave it to me when I left,
And I'd ring that bell and all the kids would come running, because they knew it was time for dinner. And if I rang that bell twice,
Now, if we were to head back to the flagpole and make a sharp left, you would hit Churchill Road. Now, follow Churchill Road straight up, and you would find yourself smack in the village of Sandy Hook.
I grew up and went to all the schools here. It's our lifeblood, this town. Been here a long time. Specifically, Sandy Hook. Specifically, Sandy Hook. It's been Sandy Hook for the most part. We're builders. We do a lot of things. Builders and contractors. We're property managers. We own a lot of commercial property that you see here.
Jerry Ann and I met at Captain Cook's, and we decided we were going to open our first business, and this was not our first choice.
Actually, we were at another space because I'm not from here. So there was a calling for me. We looked at another space on Main Street, and we were sitting down to sign the papers for the lease. And I looked at Star and the other landlord, and I said, my angels are telling me we just can't do this. So we ended up here in Sandy Hook. I'm a healer, and Star does angel readings, and there was just such a calling to come here.
We're hoping to help everyone. I mean, if you came in and you told me a story that, and you said, I'm really confused. I really don't know where I'm going. Myself or Jerry Ann can sit with you.
Yeah?
Well, that's about it. As you can see, we have our borns and breds, but we're also a town of transplants from all over. The story pretty much tells itself from this point on.
I've been a rabbi in town for now 11 years. I came in 2002, and I came to Connecticut, particularly New Town, to live the quiet life. I had been in larger synagogues where I thought that would make you more success. Bigger synagogue, more success. And you know, just a workhorse, cranking out 50 to 60 B'nai Mitzvah ceremonies, a year. It's a huge amount of ceremonies to conduct and to educate and prepare and produce. I wasn't at all happy with this. And then this New Town offering was like a perfect job description. It was small, so small this congregation, small politics, hopefully.
I was under obedience to the bishop when I was the pastor at another parish. I had just finished getting that parish like we were out of debt. Our schools were flourishing and we put up new buildings. Then the bishop came to dedicate those buildings and he said, we're going to need some other places. It wasn't like 2 months later when I got a phone call and I didn't really want to leave, It was just like I had it. I thought we had a great place, but he said, I need you to go to New Town. So we took a vow of obedience. So when a bishop asks you to do something, I think for the most part, you say yes.
Well, a couple of things that I love are, well, first of all, I feel like it's a very intelligent and eclectic mix. I mean, so many people from other areas moved here. Newtown was written up years before I was pregnant with my son, or even looked at it as the top 10 places to raise kids.
Actually, a couple of people I worked with, one of them in particular said, you have to live in Sandy Hook. It's the best school, the best school district. There's no way you couldn't love it.
Even just our first experience with the realtor was so nice. And she even been over backwards for us, trying to take us to houses that weren't even on the market yet. She just totally loved living in Sandy Hook. So just even the fact that she loved it so much made a statement.
Yeah. I would say we probably have the same memories as any other town. Oh my God, the Labor Day parade was huge. I marched through the Labor Day parade down Main Street as a kid. It was great. Everybody was there. It was fantastic.
Main Street is really the site for this out-of-hand holiday. And I mean, you just really have to know what you're in for if you live on Main Street. There's so much candy that is passed out to the people in those houses, and then the people in those houses pass it out to the kids in those houses. I mean, it's frightening. And I kid you not, it's frightening, and not just because it's Halloween.
Come thou fount of every blessing, to my heart to sing thy grace.
On December 3rd, it's usually December 3rd, or whatever the first Friday of December is. They have the Christmas tree lighting. In the town of New Town, all the residents line up Main Street, miles all up the hill, down the hill, past the pasture, and all around the corner. I was driving through and thought, wow, my God, this is absolutely breathtaking. It absolutely takes your breath away. And when you see that it's forever, you just don't forget it.
The tree lighting in both Newtown and Sandy Hook doesn't have to be anything spectacular. It just has to be a bunch of people crowded around a big tree. But it brings a certain energy that I haven't found anywhere else.
It's just quaint. And what would you expect from a small, beautiful New England town? It's a very special time here. There was a meteor shower on the 13th, and I was standing outside with my two boys that night. We saw 7 shooting stars, because it's so clear here, so dark here. You could see all of it. After we went inside and they went to bed, I went outside and made a wish that both my sons will always be safe and happy. My cell phone rang at my desk as I recognized it at school. It was like an automatic call thing where you get messages or delays or when something happens. So it was the superintendent, and all she said was, all Newtown public schools are in lockdown due to a shooting. Click. And that was it.
I'm editing photos that morning, and I got Photoshop up on a big monitor. And whenever a new email comes in, it flashes briefly in the right-hand corner. And this email, it catches my eye. It says the school's in lockdown due to a shooting. So I got up and I told Georgia, who was at her desk, did you see that message? As soon as the words came out of my mouth, her face turned white, and her words came true.
We all thought it was a high school, you know? That's your first instinct. Definitely not an elementary school. So, I'm sitting there in the hair salon, you know? I'm sitting there in the chair, and I'm starting to panic. One of my babysitters calls me and says, Jen, I just heard the shooting was on Dickinson Drive. Isn't that where Sandy Hooke is?
I hear sirens from a distance, like really far out. And we're near a highway, so with no leaves on the trees, you hear sirens sometimes. So we were walking back to our office, and as I looked back right on our property at the subway, there were 4 teachers. And I intercepted them, and I said, what's going on? They were in shock, in tears. And they said, gunshot, something very, very bad. Gunshot, gunshot.
My little one had an ear infection, and we had a 9:45 appointment at the doctor's office up the street. The doctor came in late and said, I'm sorry, all that's going on at Sandy Hooke. And then he kind of examined my daughter and kind of moved on. So we went to the waiting room in the meantime and got another phone call that it was, I think they said it was Sandy Hooke School, and there were other moms in the waiting room, and it really didn't dawn on me what was going on until one of the moms said to me,
it's at the school.
And that's when I kind of thought, oh my God. So they just said good luck, and I said, I got 2 girls in that school.
I had a 10 o'clock appointment with a bat mitzvah girl and her parents. At 10:03, the father, who's a fireman, apologized and said he had to go. Called away from our final rehearsal as it was the next day. He said, there's been a shooting at the school. And so, off he goes and we continue our rehearsal. 15 minutes later, he texts, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. And then the phone rings, and it's Father Weiss, Robert Weiss's secretary, and she says,
all clergy go down to the firehouse immediately! All clergy down to the firehouse immediately! At this time, there was nothing we could do. The school wasn't answering their phone. Everyone was still on lockdown. I was talking to my husband when we got a call saying you can pick up your kids at the school, at the firehouse. And so I said to my hairdresser, I gotta go, I got to get out of here.
I told her that I was going down to the firehouse to meet me there. Because I didn't want her to know that I knew it was her first grade class. Because where she was, she couldn't leave, and I didn't want her to worry even more. So yeah, I got in my car and I went down to the firehouse.
It was as if someone opened the floodgates right in that moment. Every personnel, police, you name it, first responders in the world was coming. And they came down Church Hill. There's really only one way to come. This is it. I saw the police, and it was a problem because they were coming down this road so fast, and this is a bad intersection. So I'm looking around, and I noticed none of the police are stopping. So I told my father to keep going, and I went into the road, and I was directing traffic for an hour. As I was doing this, I start to realize this is really significant.
I get to Riverside Road, and there are just cars all over the place. So I pulled over. There was a man kind of, telling people where to go, and there were just cars parked everywhere. So I just unrolled the window, and I said, what's going on? Where are the kids?
They're all coming to the firehouse.
So I got my husband on the phone, and I said, come out to the driveway, and then I'll pick you up and drop you off as far as I can. He came out, I dropped him off, he ran down, and I just said, bring back both of them.
And so they start coming through the woods with some guy, and he's like, I didn't do anything. No, I didn't do anything. And so we all thought we caught the gunman, but turns out it was just a neighbor. No, I didn't do anything.
The female FBI agent was talking to him, saying, I want you to go over your class roster. For every name, if there was a person that was absent, put an X. If there was someone that was present that day, but you
brother. And then he called me back and said he got them both. I can't even describe how panic it started to get from me because he wasn't answering his phone and the texts were flying. Okay, do you have him? Why aren't you answering me? Where's our son? What's going on? And I was just leaving him these messages and starting to get that rising panic like something's not right because he's avoiding me.
And then they said that there was no second shooter, and the shooter inside, he was found dead in the classroom. Found it in the classroom, and at that point, I just broke down. I went out to the front yard and picked up the first thing I could find and started beating the freak out of the tree because I knew the shooter killing himself. I knew the shooter didn't walk in that school and shoot himself in front of those kids. I couldn't imagine why it was worse than the three, him being in that classroom. As we sat and watched in horror as the numbers went from a handful to dozens to 20. And I thought,
we need to call one. The female blonde FBI agent that was most in charge of the room started coming our way. And so I said, I gotta talk to this lady. And I say, look, I'm Rabbi Prover, and I know what's happened. Now what can I do to help? And she said, come with me. And we walked through a corridor to the back room.
It was pretty. They took all the fire trucks out. It was fully empty, all the bays. There weren't many people. There was a few parents and a few teacher aides aside. They were all holding up signs for the different classes and lined up. And it was almost maybe 10 minutes and all the kids just started coming through the firehouse. They was all lining up by their number. I didn't see his teacher. I didn't see any of his classmates. And I didn't see him. So I went from one end of the firehouse to the other. I saw his teacher. So I started moving to where she was. She was walking with 4 or 5 kids, in each, all holding hands. But none of them was him, and my heart dropped.
So he finally calls me and says,
I have him.
and I just went like, okay.
I went over there and gave him a big hug. They were still in a state of shock, so I signed for release. And on our way out, he wanted a drink of water, and I didn't have any water on me. So he said, oh no, I guess there was drinks in the back, and all the kids just coming through and through the back door of the firehouse. And I guess there was drinks back there.
And so, this is the back room for the families that got the circle on that roster.
It was a small room with couches, 2 couches, and like a bar with little Disney cups of water on it. So my son, he got a drink of water, and in the room we saw. So in the room was one of our son's closest friends. She's like, have you seen our son? Our son's a first grader. I told her that we had it, and we stayed there till her husband got there. So we're there consoling her the best I could. Everything's gonna be okay. He's a good kid. They're just arriving late. Their class will be here soon.
So I was walking around for a second, and it didn't take me more than 15 seconds before I saw Veronique and Lenny Posner. Veronique was sitting there glassy-eyed and saying to me, Rabbi, I can't. If Noah is dead, I just can't go on. I just can't. No. That would be too much.
So her husband comes and then leaves to go look for their son. So I say to her, you sure you want me to stay? I'll stay. No, it's okay. You guys should go. My husband here, and he'll be back in a minute. So we all leave. The firehouse is fully empty, and all the kids was matched up with their parents.
The governor was there, Pat was there, and we had to account for all the children. We had to account for 600 children. And we were just waiting for the police to come. Coroners were coming in, EMTs were coming in, and the governor was there. And we all knew what this was going to be. We all knew what this was going to be, and the governor, he took it upon himself. He said, I can't. I have to make the decision.
announcement came, there was a rapid fire of clergy, and that was something that was very powerful for me. This was real. This was real religion. One guy starts to pray, and he says his prayer, and he's done. Another guy gets up, and he says his prayer, and like a rapid fire, you know? And it's just this scene of tragedy, of a national scale mega tragedy. And these are the last rites, or the last, utterances of the Spirit. Our different houses of worship, they're delivering it up.
The peace of this little town, it's like when Kennedy died. Our peace shattered. The illusion of our little town of peace shattered. Every flag in the nation at half-staff for Newtown? What was this? How could this happen to us? Us! Come thou fount of blessed, tune my heart to sing thy praise. Streams of mercy never ceasing. About his praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung thy flaming tongues above. Praise thy mount high, fixed upon it. Mount of thy redeeming love. Oh, to grace how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness like a vector find my wandering heart to me. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy course of "26 pebbles. That's exactly what happened. Each one of those. Each one of those. Dropped in blood. You know, it just emanates out. The ripples, the vibrations. It's life. This stuff spreads.
I just got swarmed. I was literally swarmed and I couldn't get out. And I will say, at that point, there was so much confusion, so much gossip, rumor, and I wasn't a great clarifier. I just want to inside that room. Don't get me wrong. I think the story needs to be out there. I think the story needs to continue to be out there. But I've never seen anything like that in my life. I mean, there were literally hundreds and hundreds out there in just a few hours.
Horrible, invasive, it was like a rape. People will go down in the grocery store and just start crying, and it'd be a sob of half of people just allowing them to cry. And you can't do that with the media all up in your face. You can't do that. It was so bad we had to put signs outside of the town hall that said no press.
The next day, we printed out the list of names, and we brought the kids into the TV room, and we said, we found out who was hurt. Some people died. Some teachers died. We told them first, we said, Dawn Hotspur. Mrs. Hotspur is gone. She didn't make it. They immediately started crying because my oldest daughter just loved her so much. She just started crying, and my first grader just put her hand over her ears and said, I don't want to hear anymore.
I went to a counseling center and I said to them, how am I supposed to tell my son this? Please tell me how. And then I asked, guys, can we workshop this a little bit? And they basically said they couldn't, and I was just in shock. So I said, well, can we write this down? Because I don't know what you just said to me. So we wrote it down, and we sat our son down the next day to tell him who, and then that his best friend was gone.
The whole intersection was just wall to wall with satellite trucks. Dishes everywhere. You couldn't see any buildings because of the dishes.
And yeah, you were just thinking why? I mean, the first ever comes to Newtown. I mean,
We have a local newspaper, the Newtown Bee, and it normally takes a week to generate enough local news. We're having a big sale.
yeah, and my first reaction was kind of weird. I kind of felt comforted by it in some sort of weird way. It was like, it was like the world realizing that this is one of the most horrendous things that happened on the face of the earth. In my opinion, and bear witness is saying that, wow, this is so big. We have to be here.
There's no place you're immune to it. There's no place within Newtown or Sandy Hooke that you can go. It normally takes 5 minutes from us to get from our house into town. The first couple of weeks, you have to at least allow yourself an hour to get from our house into town because the news trucks and people, the traffic jams, because the highway says Newtown. People pull off the highways just to see.
Maybe I could absorb some of this sadness, or maybe I could deflect some of this by standing in this vigil. Sort of like silent vigil. And, I thought to myself, if this is what my town is now known for, I just couldn't bear it. And what was this? And so I was compelled and I had a dream. And I woke up and I said, I have to go make a sign. I have to go make a sign and sit out somewhere. And so I called my friend Vicky and I said to her, I'm going to make a sign. And it's going to say, I am love. I am Newtown. And I'm going to sit at some random highway exit 10. So it's the first thing they see when they come in and the last thing they see when they leave. So me and my daughter, we made this sign.
This is ridiculous. Listen. This is the center of the world right now. Think about it. Sandy Hooke is the center of the world, the universe. It's here. I knew that without them here, the rest of the world wouldn't be able to get all the details. Wouldn't be able to mourn with us. and they were respectful.
I sat there for like hours and all the media would come up and I'd just be like, don't ask me a thing. I'm a silent visual. This is my message and no, you cannot have my name. And I stood there and I did this because we are this.
Yes. There are only so many places to go in Sandy Hook, and that's what I told everybody. Where do you want them to go? Where do you want them to park? Explain it to me. Can't go to schools, can't go to the firehouse. The park is jammed. The park. I don't know if you've been to. You couldn't park there. Where could they go? Where could these people go? You have to be rational about it. People here are sick. They're crying too. I had news reporters crying. They said, I've never cried like this before. They've been to wars. When I saw them emotional, I knew that we're all in this together. The whole country is in this together. What are you going to do?
The next week was just funerals and wakes, and it was pretty indescribable.
Please, let us mourn.
I stood in line for the principal's funeral and had to miss class. Here I'm thinking, it's a town away. I'm going to go pay my respects. I had a card I had prepared to leave for the family, a note I had written, and I got there a bit late, and there were news cameras up close that weren't allowed to be, and lots of police, and the line went out the building, down the block, and around the corner, and we're talking like rural blocks, you know? A mile. There's a mile-long line easily. So I went to the end of the line, and I stood there with my hands in my pockets, freezing my ass off, and I wouldn't leave. I'm just standing there staring at the flag they had put. It was really iconic. They had draped a gigantic American flag from a boom arm of a fire truck right over the road, right before the whole town would walk in to pay their respects to them, and it was a really strong gathered moment. Everybody was there because she represented what was wonderful about that school, and I don't know, man, that was tough. That was really tough, and I was in and out in less than 5 minutes, and I waited in line for 4 hours. But I shook her husband's hand, and there was a lot of sadness, you know. There's no other way to put it.
And that's what should drive us forward in everything we do, as long as God sees fit to keep us on this earth. God has called them all home. For those of us who remain, let us find the strength to carry on and make our country worthy of their memory.
I don't know. I still can't explain why something like this would happen. I think of the brutality of it, and I think, how could any God let something like this happen?
I really have been put into a very different role than I've ever expected. Well, you know, I'm like the leader of the community, but I don't see myself in that role. I saw myself as a pastor of St. Rose, and that's what you do. That's the way I understand it. That's what priests do. So now I have this, I can never decide if it's a scribe or a chief leadership. It's put a lot of pressure on me that I normally wouldn't put on myself. I'll be honest with you. I've kept my distance from the families because I'm a mess personally. We are 8 of the funerals here now. It still gets to me. We have staff doing everything they can to support and encourage them, but I have to keep my distance from the families right now.
It was just evil. It was just evil. There was no reasoning, you know. A soul was lost and took others with him, ones that didn't deserve to go. My spiritual belief is, though, that they will be back, just different names, different families, different everything. So there'll be another soul coming back through. I think I did pray more to Gaia, you know, Mother Earth, and was real taken aback that she would take that many young souls from us at just one moment. I mean, I know there's evil on this earth and it's sadly found its way to our town, and I just asked you to bring those souls back quickly, you know.
Does this shape my faith? No.
No.
Absolutely no. It actually makes us stronger.
Yeah, stronger.
And us both. That's why we're here. Not just those, but everyone.
Anybody that needs help, yeah?
And it actually built us both, I guess.
Yeah, made us stronger. Just healing-wise for me. I mean, I'm always healing myself, but healing other people?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen her go. Like, if someone's in the store and someone has,
I had 5 in one day, right in a row. And I think I took maybe a 5 or a 10-minute break just to get some water. And after that, I was almost ready to pass out.
How about the reporters?
Yeah.
I was doing a news, a filming, and I said, Jared, these reporters need help. She didn't even hesitate, just whoosh, right to it, you know, she shielded them, you know, we're hoping for the best.
I don't know if you believe any of this stuff, but you seem to be open-minded. So, I heard from one of the kids that died, Jesse Lewis. I told a friend and he said to me, you gotta talk to Scarlett. You gotta talk to Scarlett Lewis. So I asked him to ask her if she would let me do a free healing on her. I didn't want to say I just heard from your son, you know? So we became closer and I shown her son for her. If I wasn't able to communicate with Jesse, you know what I mean? I think that I think I'll be a real mess. I think that the way I felt from Jesse's side was, he's very strong. And he actually told him and his mother both knew he wasn't going to make it out alive. And before he died, I can show inside. I can show inside. He drew on his chalkboard 3 words: healing, nurturing, and love. He drew on his chalkboard, and he's 6, you know? And when I connect with him, he's very strong. He feels like a general. When the gun jammed, he said, go, the gun jammed. And he's 6 years old. He got these kids running, and they're all in shock. If he hadn't said that, they'd be standing there. There'd be 10 more bodies. I think he was already shot his time. And he still said that. And he's so strong and so amazing. So maybe I needed that. Maybe that helps me keep faith.
This was not an act of God. This was an act of man. You got free will, so that means anything can happen.
Adolf Hitler can happen. Senseless deaths and shootouts and holdups and robberies can happen and do happen every day in this country.
The thing was, people kept telling me, well, God gave you free will. He did this. It wasn't God's doing. It was his free will. He chose to do this. But I guess my questions are, well, if you had a mental illness, then it isn't free will. He didn't have a choice, right? Then my daughter asked me, is he in hell? And we tried to explain, well, you know, he was probably sick and he didn't know what he was doing. And then she would say, well, if he was sick, then that means he wasn't an evil person. So would God forgive him? What if he's sorry? Does he still have to go to hell? These are questions that we as adults don't have the answer for. What does a parent do?
In the shooter's home, police found the following.
A 7-foot pole with a blade on one side, a spear on the other.
A metal bayonet.
3 samurai swords, a .323 caliber bolt-action rifle,
22 caliber Savage Mark Rifle 2.
22 volcanic starter pistol.
News articles on the 2008 shooting at Northern Illinois University.
and inside his gun safe, they found a holiday card from his mother, containing a check for the purchase of his next firearm.
Well, of course, I'm angry. I'm angry at his mother, especially I'm angry at his father and his brother, because obviously there is more to his story in terms of his upbringing, just the lack of care he probably received as a child and all that. And I also blame her friends, because did anybody not see that this woman wasn't all together? And then nobody say anything? And what about her ex-husband? Didn't he go to the house and see all these guns?
I think he's someone who fell through the cracks. And it happens. You don't always notice I have a person that I knew that kind of, fell through the cracks. And eventually, as time went on, he ended up committing suicide. How do you know that you know when a person truly needs the help that they need? This was actually my first husband. I knew he had problems, but I didn't know how deep the problem was, and I divorced him. So where do you? It's just sadly some people fall through the cracks and you don't even know it. What did he teach us in that evil act? That we're not safe? That's what he was trying to teach. That's what he was trying to do, and that's not the lesson we should take from it, and everybody knows that, but they can't help but feel a little less safe.
Not that I'm blaming, not that I'm pointing fingers or blaming any which person, but the village raises the child. I think one of the biggest issues was his isolation. Humans are not meant to be isolated, we're meant to be connected. And when someone's not connected, bad things start to happen.
I did know him, and honestly, a lot of his family. He was a good kid, but unfortunately, even though it was a huggy town, he was about 6th grade up to 8th grade, formed a clique.
Our son came to us and said, I feel bad. I feel guilty. What do you mean you should feel good? He said, I should have said something. What do you mean you should have said something? I mean, my heart started to pound. He said, when we was all having the Halloween party, all the kids and me was talking about how weird he was. Well, what do you mean, weird? Weird how? He was like, oh, just weird. And I asked him, well, was that it? He said, well, yeah, basically. So, I mean, there's nothing to be ashamed about. There's a lot of weird people in this world, and we cannot report them for just being weird.
Yeah. What do? Start incarcerating people because they look funny? Then it's not America anymore.
He kind of got pushed to the side, and I think his mom knew she had to do.
I think even in high school, he would sort of walk with his back against the lockers down the hall to go from class to class. That kind of stuff gets the attention of other kids. And that's the fact of life that we all know it.
And we all been through some sort of incident where somebody has pointed out that you're different for whatever kind of reason.
His mother, father, and him had counseling just before the divorce. 3 months prior to this, he was fine. Then he was disturbed that it was the final decision that dad moved and brother moved. He had nobody else to talk to, and that just snapped the camel's back. When he was on medication and therapy, he was the one who would take his shirt off his back to help you. He was the one who did tutoring for the younger. He was the one who would scold the younger from smoking pot. So, they forgot all these good things about him.
I always have 28 candles out. I believe in forgiveness and that it is one of the big issues. Is it 26 or 28? A very sensitive issue.
I'll be happy to talk about this. You're talking to a family that actually has somebody with a pretty serious mental illness. My brother is schizophrenic, and there was a good 5 years.
10 years.
10 years that was gray. Gray as could be. No black, no white. What is he gonna do? I have no idea what my brother is going to do.
And I know it's not appropriate, but 28 people died that day. Not just 26. 28 families mourned.
I think that his mother did everything she possibly could. There's a point where you're scared and you're afraid, but it's your son. You have hope because he's not a monster. He's mentally ill. He doesn't think like the rest of us. It's like what you said, Dad. Some people honestly just don't know the difference between right and wrong.
A very good friend of mine explained it perfectly. He said, there's no difference between a man who's being chased by someone with a machine gun and a man who thinks he's being chased by someone with a machine gun. Our parents teach us things and it sticks with us. Then we pass them on to our own children. Then there's this little hiccup where everything you taught them just goes away and you're sitting there and thinking, who stole my son away from me? And the sad part is that he was over 18 years old and legally, there wasn't a thing we could do. We're no different from Miss Lanza because we let our own son function and also there wasn't a thing we could do about it.
Adam was a gifted child that we failed. I gotta believe that if there was someone there, big brother, highly trained, that could sit him down and say, listen, Adam, you are gifted, you are different, and a lot of kids said that you're strange. But that's because you're different. I want to introduce you to people that are like you. People who have Asperger's and are researchers and actuaries and different things that have intense mathematics involved. You could be in the forefront of medical research with your skills. Very few people can do that. You've got it. And I want to help. I'm going to help you find your way in this life, in this world, because you're gifted. And a lot of people will call you strange or bully you for that. I know that we all get bullied. Join the club. You are in the club, but I'm your friend and I'll be meeting with you every week. Some days we'll go out and play, shoot some hoops, and some days we'll just talk. We're mammals. We flock together. We need to be together.
One of the things that really struck during all this is that Adam's body wasn't being claimed. It was a week's worth of staying up at night.
The only thing any asshole does is that he succeeds in becoming infamous, and he will become a mark in a history book in some cases if we let him. What do you do? How do you bury people like that so people forget them? Because that's what you need to do. You need to forget them.
I knew who I was before December 14th. Now it's like, who am I? What am I supposed to do? How can I help? What can I do? And now it feels like I'm just adding to the noise.
Well, I think for many, many moms, we have become accidental advocates, if you can call it that. For me, at the first meeting with the psychologist, I said to her, I just don't know what to do. I really don't. I'm so angry about this gun stuff, I just don't know what to do. And she said, well, you can't focus on what has happened. If you're really angry about the gun stuff, focus on that. So that was actually a good idea. So after the meeting, I just started sending emails to my legislate, like Connecticut, all the lawmakers, whoever I could get an email address to, whoever's website I could go to and click, and I would just freeform type. I was just so mad and so upset at this gun stuff because I never really knew about it before. I was never really pro-gun, but I wasn't really anti-gun, and now it's like your eyes are open to this stuff, and now you just can't close them.
Newtown doesn't want to be remembered as a town of tragedy. We want to be remembered as a bridge to a new and kinder world. It's not about the rural areas, and it's not about the urban areas, and it's not about the suburbs. It's about the red blood that flows through our veins. It's about the clear tears that flow through our eyes. We are the same.
There were these people demonstrating outside the NSSF building, which is on the corner. In this building, I don't think anyone knew what it was before its national shooting. It's like sports recreational shooting. So they're a resource for people who hunt. And so they're a resource to let people know where they're able to hunt and shoot and what the rules are. It's a very positive organization. It's been there for decades. So yeah, there were these people outside saying, get out of Newtown, get out, get out.
Get out, get out, get out, get out!
And I went to the grocery store after passing by them and seeing the signs. And I just started bawling. And I'm like, stop crying. In the grocery store, I'm crying in the car. Please stop. And I just had to check out all my crap like that. Crying throughout the whole process. It was just like, oh man, that sucked.
We live in a society of 32,000 deaths by guns alone every year. If these people died in the battlefields of Afghanistan, we wouldn't accept it. It would have happened right here in the cities of America. We somehow are mysteriously silent.
And now I'm crying in the car. I couldn't even drive. So I pulled over the demonstrators to say, you guys stop this hatefulness. You're part of the hate.
This isn't hate, this is love!
Yeah! That makes me even more sad. You think this is love? This is sign that says get out of Newtown. That's not hate.
Okay, well, that's hate.
Right.
Yeah, who cares?
Now I'm just begging them to stop. Stop perpetuating this hate. There's so much division now. And it's very strange because it ended up like overnight.
You get so desensitized to it, to just violence as a way of life today. This really kind of dark side or cultural death or whatever you want to call it. It's overwhelming us.
That's not the problem. We live in a set. We have no social skills in America anymore. Parents want us to teach their kids to be verbal and vocalized, and they have a hard time. I played outside all my life. My parents gave me a Nintendo, and it came with 3 games. You remember that? Donkey Kong, Mario Brothers, and I want to say Zelda. It was stupid. It was terrible. That was it. That's all we had. And when I wanted something else, they said, that's what you get. And at some point, you just say, forget this, and you wanted to play outside. We just don't have social skills.
And when someone's not connected, bad things starts to happen. There's gonna be trauma.
My son's teacher, Miss Roy, was fast and furious.
She's my hero. She had them in a morning meeting quiet, and she heard the noise blowing through the doors and windows, and instantly she just said bathroom.
And she got them all into the room of the bathroom, and she closed the door. And I think she put a bookshelf in front of the door of the bathroom.
It had to be literally seconds, because he had to have walked by her room to get to Vicky Soto's room. And so they were sitting there for however long it was, listening to everything. And my son was trying to talk her into running, We can get out of here, he said. I don't want to die. I don't want to miss Christmas. My daughter said that one of the scariest parts was when the police came. Because they knocked on the door,
and they didn't know if he was the bad guy. They truly thought they were dying and that the bad guy or bad guys were coming in. Miss Roy didn't open the door. He made the police slide their badge under the door before she'd open it. My husband talked to her after at the firehouse, and she said to him, "There's gonna be trauma."
There's gonna be trauma.
They heard everything, and they seemed to be okay for a while. And then my son started to show signs of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, maybe within a week after. And so we as a family just went into, how do we make it better for him? And we didn't know how.
The first grade class and whoever was like in that hallway, in that area there, they are completely different because they truly thought they were going to die.
It was noises, it was locking all the doors. He needs to make sure all the doors were locked. He would walk around the house, hear the garage door open, and be scared that someone was coming into our house.
She wouldn't leave my side or my husband's side or a grown-up side. We were giving her melatonin almost every night to help her fall asleep. Her teachers would tell me she'd have her head in her desk with huge bags under her eyes.
I guess with PTSD, you have this fear of not being safe. So children just end up being scared. They weren't scared of monsters before. Now they're scared of monsters.
So now she's scared of werewolves, she's scared of bombs. She's afraid of bombs. She thought someone was putting a bomb in her house. At the time, someone was working on a generator, and she's asking, is he putting a bomb in our generator? What is he doing? Why is he in our house?
We don't know all the things that are broken. We're still discovering them because we've been asleep and haven't been paying attention. You know, I've been reading a lot about Columbine from 10 to 14 years later on. And I talked to the principal. He said that he has kids went through the same thing and appear to be fine. Went to college, appear to be fine. Got married, appear to be fine. And then had kids, and then bam! It just fell into pieces. Generational PTSD. And I feel like in our community, it's a bit of shame. Especially to hear the younger people say, which is why I've come to say, I have PTSD. I'm thinking about having a t-shirt made. Got PTSD? I do.
People are scared. And it's scary to talk about it because you don't know who's been touched by what. There are times when I want to drive away and never come back, and then there are times when I never want to leave. I mean, it's all just so... People here are afraid. And that's what it is. If I were to get really mad right now, I am not going to crumble into a puddle, which is what I really need and want to do right now because I don't know what's going to happen to me if I let myself go there. I mean, I don't know if I will ever recover. I mean, how could you process all of this?
This is what happened to us because we weren't allowed a moment to grieve for these babies. But I remember the moment the flagpole went back up. And I was up at some crazy hour in the morning, and I called my flagman, David, and I told him, I said, get over here and raise these flags. Raise these flags right now. And I just remember seeing the flag go up, and I was thinking, we're getting our town back. We're coming back. So now all you media, leave.
I'm Chris, and I guess what you're looking for is shortly after the 14th, I was put in charge of all of the logistics of all of the in-town relations, which is what they were called. I was in charge of everything that came in, how to handle it, how to bring it in, and then eventually disbursement. So I kind of ran that show. I mean, I had a lot of help, but I was put in charge of it.
wanted to tell you something. Doing the mail is tough. Doing the mail is tough, and you have to. The only way you can really do it is just block yourself. Just block yourself and just do it.
Hey, folks, being the wonderful thing that it is, somebody decided that it would be a wonderful idea to start sending teddy bears to New Town, and I had seen it in the news, and I didn't think much of it. By Monday, we had brought a couple boxes. My girlfriend, because they were giving toys and teddy bears and stuff across the way, and she says,
If I could get more, that would be great.
so we went to the church, and there was just a full 4th grade classroom with thousands of bears in that one room alone. So that opened my eyes a little bit as to what the scale was going to be like.
It ended up being so strange that everywhere we went, my son kept getting free teddy bears. Free. People, the whole world was just pouring all this love onto us. There was such amazing love coming in from everywhere. And then just think, like, that was 20 kids lost all at the same time. It was horrific. It was a massacre. It was a tragedy. And then you think, how many kids die every year in Chicago to probably pretty poor moms? You know what I mean? And how they grow up with this violence and nobody does anything for those parents.
You need help? I'm here. And that's how it started. I help friends all the time, so I thought about it and says, hey, these people are just friends I haven't met yet. And oh boy, do they need help.
I started putting up signs and I take a phone call. Dennis from Ace Trailer, he's like, oh, you know I could drop off some trailers. What do you need? And I said, drop off whatever you can, because we're going to start running out of room. And we filled those trailers by Thursday. People were driving in, and we had people from Nebraska, Florida, Iowa, Texas. People drove from Texas to drop off teddy bears.
And the hugs. There's class in Africa, man. These silhouettes of their bodies giving a hug.
With their face.
And the arms go out too, and it's the cutest. And whenever somebody fell down, we tell them, go get a hug.
People needed to do it for themselves, you know, and that's what a lot of it turned out to be. Newtown is not some poor community, you know. There's some pockets of broke, but there's no real poverty like in other towns. So we never needed 63,700 teddy bears.
Everybody's on edge. Everybody's looking, everybody's watching, everybody's scared. And it's not us. It's the world. And that's what we've been trying to get across to the people who want to send another 60,000 teddy bears. Give it to your own children. They need the counseling. They need the attention. They need those teddy bears. Do it there. Trust me. We got them. Trust me. We got them. Do it in honor of our children, for yours.
The other problem was the overwhelming number of volunteers. Way too many, and they would, you'd have 100 people show up one day, you train all of them, and then tomorrow, a different 100, and then you had to train them, so it was chaos. The hard part was, the families would come to the warehouse and pick up their items. I didn't know any of them at first, but I kept my title going, but just going up to them. I say, hey, I'm Kat if you need anything. And they put up their hands, and I'd say, no, I give hugs.
So we wound up sending stuff all over. First, we gave families their options on where they wanted their stuff to go. So if they wanted their stuff to go to Green Chimneys, I'd send their stuff to Green Chimneys. Or if they wanted their stuff to go to Lakota Indians, I managed to send a tractor trailer with the stuff down to the Lakota Indian tribe for free. We sent stuff to Kenya, we sent stuff to Haiti, a lot of police stations so they could keep teddy bears in their trunks again. We took care of all of the battered women's shelters, hospitals, toy closets, and all of the children's hospitals. I mean,
I have a list of them if you want to see it. Where all the stuff went, but everywhere some are good. I had to do it all for free. We didn't have a budget for any of it, so for free. It was done on the backs of volunteers.
The ripples, the vibrations, this stuff spreads.
And then we had Jolie. I've been hearing about Jolie for what, 6 months? 5 months now anyways. Just keep on saying, what kind of name is Jolie? We were, well, now I hope I'm telling the right story. We were obviously very in it. We were in the hallways of Town Hall, and we figured out that we should display everything that came in. We get the tables out into the hallways and get the tablecloths out and such and put it all in the mail bins. And then there's this skinny little rump kid, and she's out in the hallways, and she's going through all the mail, and she's sort of settled in. I didn't know who she was, but she got a camera and she's taking pictures. Hi, what are you doing?
She's taking pictures.
What do you mean you've been taking pictures? You've been taking pictures of hundreds and thousands of cards. So, the next day I went out there, and there she was. The cards are now fanned out, and she's out there, she's making a mess on my table. What are you doing?
Well, I'm just trying to get all this.
Then the next day I went out there, and the cards are spread all over the floor. And they're all over the floor. Okay, we're going to have a talk here. What is it that you want to do?
Well, my mission is to have an online collection of all this, so that anyone who has lost their children, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, whatever, they can look at this and be like, wow, that really helps. Wow, that really, really helps. You know, there are books people have made by printing out the stuff. There are poems people have written, and you just read it and you're like, yeah, that's it. Oh, it can be as simple as someone wrote on a big sheet of paper, no words, love Trey, mother of 2 in Texas. And you look at that and you're just like, oh yeah, that's it.
I think she's nuts for doing this, but she's doing this. She turned from just being someone who walked in there, now she's got the keys to the kingdom. She can do whatever she wants to do.
You know, do you know the idea of agape? It's like just loving people because they deserve it. And I don't love, well, I guess I can say love everyone, but you don't have to like everyone. You don't have to be friends with them. You don't have to live with them. You just have to build a community where everyone where there's something for everyone. And so what we're trying to do and the connections that are being made is build a model of what's supposed to be happening from now on.
Yeah. My daughter finally went back to school, and they had no help in the room whatsoever. No trauma people in the room, no doctors, nothing. They had these special helpers, which didn't really help. When a child had an issue in the classroom, it was a special helper's job to take them out. Go read a book, kind of redirect them, get them in a happier place, and then return them back. So they had that, but that wasn't really doing anything. Whenever I had gone, I saw my daughter so isolated. She wasn't contributing to anything. She would just be standing there in tears doing nothing, and any noise would just make her withdraw. So I met with the superintendent, and they said they're working on a plan, and it took a couple of weeks. But they finally got a woman to come in, and we absolutely love her. The room has actually gotten so much better. They're joking and being silly, and all of that.
After this was all over, we went to our synagogue, and the rabbi said, does anybody have questions, or does anybody have comments? And so I turned to my son, and I said, do you want me to say anything? And he's like, no. And then he's like, yeah. And so I said, this is my son. He was there. He survived. And everyone was shocked, that I got up and said something. And so my 6-year-old goes in front of the whole congregation and says, every day there are shadows, but every day there is light too.
I mean, just putting him down, putting him to bed at night. I check with him before I go to bed, and I'm just amazed about how much he's grown since December.
That's the thing about kids.
They're so resilient. They're so much more resilient than we are, right? They're very happy kids because kids are supposed to be happy. That's where the innocence comes from. When you look out and see his friends who are also affected, and they're outside, and all just boys playing football, you know? Doing what they're supposed to.
Things are blooming. It's gorgeous. And the contrast to what it felt like here on December 14th is just, it was so different. Things are blossoming. Life came back. It's coming back.
This all leaves you with a lot of questions, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't, because the more people are talking about it, the more that they're thinking about it. And the more that people are thinking about it, the more that they're wondering, where can we go from here, and what can we do from here? And as an educator, what can we learn from this? That's like so cliche, but it's true. What can we learn from this?
There's a journey to go through, you know? We have to get to the darkness before we can get to the light.
This is still home, and it will continue to be. You hear this with every tragedy. The president or the town's official would say, in Houston, we are going to get through this. In Florida, we as Floridians are a tough bunch. Now, I know this is true for us, but more.
You know, it's like all love is. It draws things to you, and I feel like that's how I've been since I've got here. You just have to choose to be joyful and live joyfully, because the alternative is and was misery.
Just because you're a survivor doesn't mean you're 100%. You should go away happy, and you're fine. Get over it, shake it off. But the kid is different. Even though it wasn't their kids, these parents lost something.
My love for this town was there long before this ever happened. When we bought this house, we saw 80-something houses. I was the biggest lawyer pain in the neck that you could ever think of. And finally, the realtor and my wife turned around and stopped the car in the middle of the road and they said, "Which one?"
Take it.
And I said, "Okay, the white one with the fence."
Fine.
The white one with the fence.
You know, we're back, and we're going to continue taking care of the high schoolers, the coroners, the EMTs, the dispatchers, and we're going to continue our counseling, we're going to continue healing. Even though it hurts, we're going to continue to heal. And I'm just ready to move on, and I feel like we're ready to move on. So let's move on! Come thou fount of every blessing, to my heart to sing thy praise. Streams of mercy never ceasing, all for souls of loudest praise. Teach me sonnet of this sonnet, sing my flaming storms above. Wheels around time, fixed upon it, bells of thy redeeming love. Oh, to grace, how great a debt, daily I constrain to be. Let thy goodness, like a fetter, bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts above.
Always was, always will be.
Can I say two? Wait, I want to say three. Capital S, strong, period. Capital R, resilient, period. Capital T, transformative, period.
There's so much of it in this town. So much. I've never seen anything like it. I hope I never do again. But there is so much. Because the only way we're going to push through and do it is together.
It can't be a one-man band. You can reflect back. You have to do it immediately and together.
It's all about how you ripple out and what these vibrations can be. We are love. We are Newtown. And that message, well, that message says it all.
Okay, can we just have the fluorescents on really quick? All right, thank you very much, folks. Thank you for being an attentive audience. I just want to do something very, very quickly. If you could just put your feet flat on the floor, make sure there's nothing in your lap or in your hands, and if do whatever's comfortable for you. You can either allow your eyes to close, or you can put your gaze towards the floor, or soften your gaze, squint a little bit, whatever's comfortable for you. And we're going to do what's called a 6, 7, 8 breath, okay? Where we're going to inhale for 6 counts, we're going to hold for 7 counts, we're going to exhale on 8 counts, okay? Here we go. I'll lead us through it. You ready? And inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's a really, really easy way to just ground yourself, reconnect. It's a thing you can do during class, right? It's a silent thing that nobody needs to know you're doing it. If you just need a moment for yourself, a quick breath, just remember 6, 7, 8. Inhale on 6, hold for 7, exhale on 8. Before I let you go, I just want to hear if you can share your thoughts or feelings or experiences about what you just witnessed in one word, 1 or 2 words, a couple people. What are you thinking? Yeah, back there. Amazing. Yeah, what else? Made you cry. Yeah, anything else? Yeah. Made you cry? Yeah. Scary. Yeah, absolutely. Anything else? Yeah. Tragic. Yeah. Anything else? Tender. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah, one more. Rare? Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Yes, one more. Heartbreaking. Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I kind of forgot to mention at the beginning before you watched the play was, yes, this is a true story. All of the words in this play were taken from interviews from these people. These are all real people from Newtown. The playwright went to Newtown, did these interviews, recorded them, wrote everything down, and then took everything back and figured out how to take those words and make it into a play. So every single word in this play was spoken by a real person. All right? So thank you for coming. I hope our hope for doing theater and for doing this play, we can't stop gun violence in schools by doing one play, right? That would be a pretty amazing thing, but not realistic. But what we hope happens is that you watch this play and maybe you check in on that friend who's been a little quiet. Maybe you check in on that person in your family who you might see has been a little down recently, right? And that's what we want to do. That's what what this play wants us to do, to go out and check in on each other and take care of each other. Because like one of the characters says at the end about the word together that's written here on the set, that we just go through this together. All we have is each other, right? That's it. So, thank you very much. Tell your friends and family. We have 2 more shows, one tonight, one tomorrow afternoon. Thank you for being here.